Hey everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Curse of Crystal Cove. And my name is Kendall, and I'm obviously a big Scooby-Doo fan, so that's cool. If you're watching the video version of this, you're probably like, wow, you are really dressed up for a Scooby-Doo podcast. And I would not agree, because Scooby-Doo is such an important I have to always look nice for him. Because why wouldn't you? Anyways, I will not be looking like this every episode, that is for sure. I have plans tonight. And this was just a good time, and I was like, you know what, I want to look nice for the first episode, so there we go. I hope, again, I feel so bad because I'm just talking about video things, but hope y'all like this background. So, what to expect for these episodes? I think what I'm basically going to do is, go through each, not scene, but go through the episode that we're talking about, and I'm obviously doing this in chronological order, so we'll be talking about the first one, and I believe it's called Beware from the Beast Below, episode 1. I mean, I'm sure that's what the title for this video is going to be, but I am almost positive that that's what it's called. Yes, Beware from the Beast Below, which it came out April 5th, 2010. I was ripe age of 10 years old. I remember, oh my god, I'm all over the place, but that's kind of how this is. And I'm probably not going to edit it too much because, why would I? That's boring. You guys get to see the raw me, you know? But sorry if I have so many weird positions too. Again, sorry audio listeners. Basically, so what I'm going to do is kind of chronologically go through the episode, and I have notes that I took while I was watching it. And I'm probably going to be saying a lot of the same stuff because, again, this is my favorite rendition of Scooby-Doo. I truly believe that this is what the original creators thought, or that was their original idea for Scooby-Doo Where Are You, which is the first series that came out in 1969. I love this series, and I've read a lot of stuff about this, because when I was a kid, whenever I would get bored, if I didn't want to play any, MMO, I would either be outside or I would research Scooby-Doo. So, a lot of the time. So, I know a lot of, weird random information about the show, which I will probably do, deep dives into the original series, because that's probably the one that I know the most about. It's a different episode. This is the first episode, and I'm already 4 minutes in, and all over the place. So I apologize. Oh, I remember when this episode literally premiered, and I was 10, and I remember being like, oh my god, this is so cool, this is the first, Scooby-Doo series in a long time, since, in my brain it was a long time, it was 5 years, at that point. How about we get into this episode? So, it's so cute. So it starts out, Mystery Incorporated, they're like, hey, should I curse? I don't know if I should curse. You know what, I'm gonna curse, because why not? So, all the kids are like, hell yeah. So, they had just, solved a mystery, whatever, put somebody in jail. They're all like, woohoo, high-fiving each other. And then it's the jail door shuts, and then the sheriff, which, you're immediately introduced to, which is, he's one of the best characters on the show. We love Sheriff Bronson. Sheriff Stone? Bronson. The sheriff. I think his name is... Y'all, I'm sorry. Clearly, I think people are coming to this podcast for my expertise, and that is not what I'm giving. I apologize. It's been a week since I watched the episode, and even though I've watched this show several times, all the way through, which I try to not, overwatch it, because it is, I just love, I love everything about it, but we'll get into that later. Anyways, so, you're introduced to him, and then immediately, right off the bat, you're introduced that Fred's dad is the mayor. So it's just, I love the way that everything just, smoothly goes into it. It's not, it doesn't feel, super forced. It's just, okay, yeah, they have to establish this. This is the first episode. They have to establish a lot of things. So that's super cool. And then he talks about, all your parents are going to be, super upset about this. And then it cuts to all of the kids being with their parents, or, in some form near their parents, and then they're having a conversation with their parents. And I love the way that it cuts from them talking from one to the next, so it's a continual sentence but it's like each kid is like saying the same thing to their parents, which is super cool. The first little tidbit that I want to point out, I don't know if this was their intention. I can only assume it was. I've never looked it up, but like ever since I watched the show first, I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. So he's like a consistent background character. We should have like a Don Knotts catch, radar. That background character is Don Knotts. And for those of you that don't know Don Knotts, I'm really sorry, because he's a really cool guy. A lot of people mainly know him as, oh my god, I cannot remember the character's name, but he was in Andy Griffith's show, and he's like this, he's a very animated person, like in the first place. Like he's just like, kind of like Robin Williams. He's like very animated. He has this goofy voice. I always knew him because in my favorite Scooby-Doo game, which is Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights for the PS2, and he was the groundskeeper, which like is very fitting for Don Knotts, if you know like all the other roles that he's been in, but it's super cool. I love him so much. So when I was a kid like watching that first, I was literally like, oh my god, that's so cool. They put Don Knotts in it, but he's like a reoccurring background character. He's in a lot of the episodes, but he in this episode he's like taking a tour that Velma is giving because her parents own a haunted tour thing, which is super fun. I love that. And I love that each character of Mystery Incorporated, their family has the same color palette. I think that is like so cool because I just love, it's like obviously like that's not how it is in real life, but I don't know why I love it so much. I just think it's super cool that like Velma, her whole family is orange, and then Shaggy and Scooby, they're like greens and blues, and then Daphne, her family is like the pinks and the purples and stuff, and then Fred, like he and his dad, they're like also, they're kind of like a mix of everything. It's like white and like a dark blue. So I mean, Fred's family is only Fred and his dad. Anyways, that's just like one of my little favorite things. I just like love how they all like have the same kind of like style. That's just super cool. And it makes sense because it's like, oh, obviously like, they would pick up style and stuff from their like siblings or their family and stuff. So I just think that's cool. I'm assuming that, or like hoping that most people that are listening to this have seen the show or like are watching each episode with me, which would be super cool. So you could either like watch the episode after or watch it before with me, that'd be super cool. But so Velma's family owns this haunted tours place, and they have a bunch of the monsters that the kids, Mystery Incorporated, have like captured. So like she points them all out. There's like, actually I don't think the creeper's in that one. I think she has Charlie the robot. She has Captain Cutler, which I love. Captain Cutler is my favorite ghost. I have, oh god, it's kind of like hard to show right now, but I will post a picture of it on the screen. I have a Captain Cutler tattoo, and I also have a Scooby-Doo tattoo, obviously. But Captain Cutler's my fave. But basically Velma goes in and like debunks all these things because she doesn't believe in ghosts, but her parents are all like super like, vampires and werewolves, they're all real. But, Mr. Incorporated, the whole thing is like, we're uncovering everybody that's fake, which is a lot of fun. But what I noticed this time in my rewatch is like, I've always noticed that they have a bunch of different like callbacks to original Scooby-Doo characters, which is super fun. But this time I noticed you can't really see it super well, but they have the ghost from the live-action Scooby-Doo, the first one, in the opening scene, which is, like, I don't even remember what his name is. It's been a really long time since I've seen that movie. But he's, like, this white ghost, like, guy, but he's in the back. And I was like, oh, that's so cool, like, that's a really fun callback. So that's super fun. And then moving on to my next little tidbit, Casey Kasem is the voice of Shaggy's dad. And if you love Scooby-Doo and you know a bunch of things about Scooby-Doo like I do, Casey Kasem is the original voice of Shaggy. So as he like got older, he slowly like faded out of doing the voice of Shaggy, but he did it for a long time. Even through, I'm almost positive that he did it for What's New Scooby-Doo, and then after that he kind of like faded out. He did a couple of like the direct-to-home video or movies, but when Matthew Lillard stepped in as Shaggy in the live-action ones, that was when Casey Kasem kind of like slowly like stepped down because he was getting older. His health was declining, and then he passed in 2014, which was a very sad day for me. I remember finding out, and I was just like, it was super late at night, and I was just like laying in bed, and I just started crying, and I was like, oh my god. But yeah, I just thought that was a super cool callback that the creators, you know, decided to do. And he's like reoccurring every so often whenever like Shaggy's parents are in it, and I love it so much because like you hear him, and I'm just like, Casey Kasem. But another thing that I like genuinely love so much about the show, which I'm going to say a bunch, is the humor that they wrote for the adults and how like stupid they are. Like how the mayor and Sheriff Bronson are just like, yeah, no, this is good for the town. We want haunted things so it gets more tourism. Or like, I don't know, they just say like some of the stupidest stuff, and it's just like, it makes more sense for them like building this world that like all of the adults are dumb. And that like and the way that all of the parents were talking about like being like exceedingly realistic for their kids, like when they're all talking about like, all the kids are, you know, all the kids are solving mysteries these days, and then all the parents are like, no, they aren't. That is not true. But I just love that so much. I know I probably keep like repeating myself, just saying like, I love that so much. But I really do. It's just like so hard for me to express how much I love this show and just like what the whole franchise of Scooby-Doo like has done for me. Scooby-Doo's always been there for me, you know? It's just like a really sentimental thing. And everybody in my family, like, we've always used to watch Scooby-Doo stuff together, not just because, like, I loved it, but it's, like, my older sister introduced Scooby-Doo to me because she loves Scooby-Doo, and then, you know, when she's, like, 4 years older than me, so it's just, like, she loved it, and then, like, so obviously I would watch Scooby-Doo with her, and then it was just kind of like, oh, I took that over as my personality. But, like, Scooby-Doo has just been, like, such a cool generational thing, and for it to still have constant, like, new movies and shows about it, like coming up since 1969, and today is 2023, and I know that they are literally still making a Scoob 2, and it's just like, that is so cool for just like one franchise to be, I mean, just like superheroes and stuff, I mean, but this is one TV show, and then like they keep remaking it, and I mean, I know like I'm a diehard Scooby-Doo fan, but like I've never, but I also like know a lot about film and stuff, so I know a lot about film. I really don't. It's never been sickening to me that, oh, you know, obviously there has been some questionable Scooby-Doo renditions. Do not get me wrong. Some I have never watched, just because I cannot get over the animation or like just the look of it. It's just really hard for me to, which sucks. But it just like is so cool to me that it's just so many generations can talk about this show because there's just been so many different renditions. And that's literally so cool. So I love that they introduce in this series the relationship between the characters more, because in all the other ones, like, you know, it's always been just kind of like, you know, clearly Daphne likes Fred, you know, sort of thing. And I mean, that's really been it. Like, they haven't really ever introduced anything besides that. This show was more for, like, teens. I think that's what they were more so aiming for when they made this. But I do love how they introduce how Daphne is, like, this hopeless romantic, like, head over heels for Fred, and she is just literally so in love with him, and then he's just like, I love traps, and you're a really good friend. Because he just, like, doesn't think like that. And that's, like, that just makes a lot of sense. Because I think they're supposed to be, like, 16, 17. I think they're, like, 17, because it seems to be, like, they're juniors. Because there's an episode where they go, like, look at colleges and stuff. Anyways, but yeah, I just love the relationship between Daphne and Fred and how that evolves. And then how they finally introduce that something is, like, going on between Shaggy and Velma. Which, like, as a kid, I never really thought that. I always thought that Fred and Daphne were, you know, a couple. But I never really thought anything of Velma and Shaggy. But I don't know. It's just my brain. I think it was because, like, a lot of the times I saw myself in Velma and I was like, yeah, I don't know. She's cool. I think she's just vibing on her own, you know? I think it's super fun how the relationship between Shaggy and Velma develops and them bringing in, like, how they don't want to show it to anybody in the gang because they don't want Scooby to get upset because, like, he was the one that had, like, the biggest reaction. The monster in this, I don't even remember what they really call him, he's just this, like, green guy and he shoots some green goop, which is awesome. When the gang, like, first encounters him, they're like, whoa, this is crazy. Because it's just, like, a lot going on. And then when the whole scene dies down, and then I just love that Fred just goes over and he's just, like, steals this body, and then Velma's like, all right, okay, let's go. And then they take it to the professor, and then obviously Fred gets super upset that after he took this body to the professor for him to, like, look at, then the professor gets encapsulated in this goop and is, like, dehydrated, so he's like, it's all my fault. And this is when you're introduced to Angel, who is literally one of my favorite characters. I love her so much. She is so cool. She is literally amazing, and I just love everything about her. She's just on her own. She's slaying, literally a queen. There's, like, nothing else to say about her. She is so cool. She has an amazing voice, and that makes sense because she's a radio host, but it's so cool. I also realized that I skipped over a part about, like, Fruit Myers. So Fruit Myers in the episode is this, like, it's basically what I understand, like, a frozen yogurt ice cream kind of thing. That's what it seems like anyways, but that's not necessarily, because in the episode he's like, I don't even know what it is, which is the guy, Franklin Fruitmeyer, who's the guy that makes it. But let me tell you how badly I have always wanted to eat that. I have always wanted, it looks so good. There's so many foods from Scooby-Doo that I just think about and I'm like, man, that looks so, especially the original, I'm like, oh my god, that looks so good. It looks so good. I want to eat it so bad. Anyways. Oh, but he's just like I love Franklin Fruitmeyer. I think he's just a really funny character. Why is he a clown? Who knows, but that's his whole personality, and that even when he leaves work and comes back, like, that's not just, like, a job thing. Like, I think he's constantly a clown, and that's really awesome for him. I love that for him, honestly. But basically, so later in the episode, they go into Fruitmeyer's, and because they're like, I think that's, so they figure out that the goop is Fruitmeyer's. So, because Scooby starts eating it, and they're like, what the heck, why are you eating that? So they go into Fruitmeyer's, and then they take a look around, and then they find that there's this big hole in Fruitmeyer's, into the cavern that they were in earlier, when they were snooping around, when they first saw the monster. And they obviously re-encounter the monster, and that's super fun, you know, just, I love that they're all just, like, so cool with it, that they're, I mean, obviously except for Shaggy and Scooby, but all the other ones, they're like, yeah, no, I'm gonna risk my life to, you know, just find out if this is actually a guy or not, you know, it's really, you know, just fun little, like, teenager things, you know. And I also realized I failed to mention that earlier when they were first looking in the cavern, that Daphne found this locket, And I've always wanted this. I would love a actual one, and it's a magnifying glass and it has a question mark on it, and then she opens it and it's a locket, and it's a picture of two people, and she's like, what is this? What the heck? And then she keeps it, and it makes this really pretty music, and the scoring in this show is so good too. Anyways, so she's been carrying this locket around, whatever, and then basically by the end they catch the beast from below, and and they all think it's Franklin Furtmeyer because, like, you know, that would make sense, because it's his store, it's his stuff, you know. They found this suspicious hole in the ground, and then he comes in and they're like, we thought it was you, and then he's like, nope. So then obviously, you know, they do the whole unmasking thing, which is awesome, always, and then they're like, Professor, and then which is like, I've seen this a lot on social media recently for some reason. It's the clip when Daphne, I think it's Daphne's like, well, why are you trying to, like, steal from this bank? Because that's where they found, like, the hole leads to is, like, right up under the bank, so we can obviously get money. And they're like, why are you trying to steal from the bank? You're a teacher. And then it just goes to a shot of him being like, and then everybody is like, oh, yeah, right. Like, you know, I got you. Like, I love the humor of that show. It's so good, and it just stays like that throughout the entire series, and I just think that's literally, it's so funny. It really is. Oh, and then, so Daphne is like, yo, is this your locket? Because we found this in the cave. And he's like, I've never seen that before in my entire life. And then she's like, oh, where did it come from? And he's like, I don't know. So whatever, he goes to jail, whatever, you know, he does the whole, like, meddling kids, which is awesome, that I still love that they, like, keep that throughout the entire, all the renditions that I've watched of Scooby-Doo, that they keep that, and I just love that so much. It's just, like, a fun, you know, circle back. At the end, it's all of them back with Angel in the radio station. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word for a second, but they're all back in the radio station, and then they get a call, and it's from a random guy, and he's like, you're all doomed. And they're like, what the heck? What do you mean? Why are we all doomed? And then he's like, you should have left that locket in the caves. And they're like, huh? So you guys, I'm really descriptive. I'm actually really good at this. Yeah, obviously. So he's like, you know, I'm Mr. E. Yeah, and that's it, actually. He doesn't say anything else. And they're like, oh, cool. No, I'm kidding. So they're like, he says, yeah, I'm Mr. E, but, like, y'all should have left that in the caves with the original Mr. Incorporated, because you just brought some stuff back to the surface that did not need to be in the surface. It did not need to be resurfaced. Yeah, I mean, that's basically how the first episode ends, and then, you know, they're all like, oh no, what are we gonna do? This is crazy. And then they're all like, Mr. Incorporated, that's a good sounding name. And we love that. Which I feel like a lot of people don't realize in this series, unless you actually remember in detail, like I do, that they didn't come up with the name Mystery Incorporated. It was like, they got it because there was a prior Mystery Incorporated, and they found this out through Mr. E and everything. If you have seen this show, I'm going to not do any kind of spoilers and stuff, especially for people that are just watching it for the first time, so I am not going to drop any future lore of the show, because I want everybody to enjoy it and be as surprised as I was, because I just think it's so good how, I know I say this so much, but it's just such a really amazing show, and I love that if you really wanted to, you could watch the episodes, like, out of order, and still, like, understand what's going on, but also if you do watch them in order, then you just get so much more, like, information, and I just think it's so cool. I really hope that everybody enjoyed this first episode. I'm sorry it's gonna be all over the place, but that's really how my brain works, and I go on a lot of side tangents, but I think that's part of the fun, you know? I think it's part of the fun. And I have all the video people like liked the background and stuff. You see my little Snorlax. His name is Buford. Well, obviously I have Scooby, and this is Groggle. He's my little plague doctor. Got my little ghosty. And above here I do have a Scooby-Doo shelf. So you can't really see it. But I also do have a Scooby-Doo. He's just kind of hiding. But maybe I'll, like, next time I'll, like, try to do some more Scooby-Doo, decor, if you will. I think in future episodes I'm also going to have, depending on how long I've been talking, which is probably a while, I will do some little, like, tidbits at the end, and as of right now, I do have ideas for, I definitely have one big idea, and it's probably going to be a longer episode about a different Scooby-Doo thing, because I don't want to give it away, but, something I have been thinking about for a long time, and I've always wanted to discuss it, and I think it'd be just really, really fun, and, you know, kind of, maybe controversial, controversial in the Scooby-Doo fans, if you will. I don't know why I keep saying that, but yeah, so I really hope that everybody enjoyed this, and I hope that you come back for another episode, and, you know, follow me on my Instagram, which is Kendall Esslinger Design, and I will probably be posting, you know, just like I like to post little things about my work and stuff like that. So I am a video editor. Maybe I'll do like an episode of just like introducing me and all of my controversial opinions about Scooby-Doo, you know? I hope that everybody has a good day or night after listening to this, and I hope everybody stays well. I'll see you in the next episode.